Vaheguru, October 29. What are red flags? Do you constantly feel confused as it concerns the reality of your relationship? Does it seem that you can't quite put your fingers on something? Vaheguru, 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 Vaheguru. Something or anything in particular because your relationship lacks a cohesiveness, as in a progression of normal and healthy growth. Do you always find yourself explaining instead of participating in normal conversations? Are you feeling isolated from friends and family? Do you feel more like a prisoner in this relationship as if the entire life has been controlled and consumed by this person? Do you feel like you are walking on eggshell to make sure you do not say or do anything to upset this person or send them into a rage? Do you feel invalidated and bullied? Is the simple question gravitating back to you with accusation, blame, faulting you as in being jealous or even crazy? Does it seem more like a roller coaster ride with a constant emotional highs and lows that never seem to level out? Are there events that lead you to believe you are being lied to and betrayed by this individual? Are you feeling lost, hurt, vulnerable, not your normal self, exhausted, depressed, anxious, fearful, abandoned, punished, silenced, dehumanized, and alone in this relationship? If you're feeling these things, your intuition is telling you that something is horribly wrong. If these things are happening, you are being emotionally and psychologically abused and you need to get help to figure this out. First, educate yourself with facts, then find some support immediately. Protect yourself and your loved ones, because if this is the abuse, you need to get away before it destroys you, your family, and your life. Knowledge is power. You're not abused. You're not what you did to you. You're not your trauma. You're not the cleverness that survived. You're not the courage that escaped. You are the power that read and protected the tiny spark of your life. You will fan that spark into a bonfire of rage and love, and with it you'll burn all their lies to ash. When you come out of this abuse, you feel like you were in a thick and dense fog, or that your reality was altered and you haven't changed forever. Basically, you have changed through the slow process of brainwashing and manipulation from your abuse, and you're also traumatized, confounded, and confused. You're wondering what hit you squarely in the brain, your heart, and right through to your soul. You are functioning now, but not as you did before this abuse. Day by day, you were managed down more and more by the narcissist's vast arsenal of tools, to the point that you are not your original self anymore, because your reality was altered from the emotional and psychological abuse. If you were the person that you were before the abuse, you would have a much clearer perspective after the discard or separating from this narcissist. But unfortunately, you are not that same person at all. You have no sense of self-worth. You are exhausted, confused, depressed, anxious, sad, vulnerable, traumatized, and isolated from life. In general, what you have been through is something very important to your recovery, and that is the knowledge and the truth that you were a victim of this abuse. That is what will give you the clarity of to empower yourself to never return to this person or allow them to abuse you ever again. This is the start of your road to recovery, and that is gaining knowledge and education about your situation. Knowledge is power, so you must seek it out, as well as the voices of many survivors that have traveled this path before you. Emotional baiting, designed to incite an emotional or rageful response. This tactic makes the victim appear unstable, jealous, or crazy, providing evidence in their smear campaign against you. Narcissists are very accomplished liars and can be high functioning individuals, but their complete persona and the entire world is totally based on the pathological deception and lies. Their positive attributes and alleged actions are all made up in order to achieve an abnormal place in our world, as well as to get to the effects of the narcissist supply, adulation, praise, and accolades. They crave so much that magnanimous but fake persona gives them an acceptable and workable packet and place among good and normal people. They need that place in our world to survive among us, but that dysfunctional creature still lives inside of them and very near to the surface of their packet. They just test them once and you will see the fury of the hidden creature. Just poisonous, destructive, and disabling to all people. A narcissist will take you out if you ever attempt to make them accountable in any way, because they fear exposure. They will also just move on to the next family, place, career, organization, town, or whatever it takes to constantly achieve that supply. They will also exalt someone else's worth in the process and move on to another again and again. Narcissists like to provoke negative emotions in others, not educated reaction. This is often accomplished by saying something rude, insensitive, or doing something cruel. They can shame those emotions by claiming you are crazy, saying you overreact, calling you a drama queen, or trying to make you feel your emotions are all wrong. That makes you doubt yourself, which affects your self-esteem and self-worth. Don't allow an arc to control you or tell you how to feel. And this is a form of manipulation and emotional abuse. The narcissist reality and the world lack any principle. Thus, the extreme inconsistency of this normal morals that is so related and real to our world. They simply do not abide in any rules or law, earthly or spiritual. So anything or everything goes in the world without any consideration of how it affects or harms anyone. Narcissists are not consistent and they concise anyone that is consistent with real normal ethics, good or quality of life, because it forces the narcissist to recognize their own lack of consistency and a constant reminder of their own self-deception that they have to fiercely protect to avoid exposure of who and what they are. Remember, their reality and existence depends on the packet of the mask to show up and the other. That disordered and angry monster that lurks just beneath their flimsy facade. Their world is one continuous chain of the lies and extreme deception, and it is only as functional as the people taking charm into their world. The narcissist colorfully camouflages themselves to lure a target and then emotionally, psychologically exhaust these potential targets, just like the predator would again. They trick and trap their prey just like a predator to create an unfair hidden advantage over them and then plug them into their agenda of achieving supply to devour what they can from us. They never become verified. It is all smoke and mirrors. We are just that crazy to love an abusive, insane-acting, and destructive creature or a narcissist. We are this bad off or mentally deficient that this is what we welcomed or allowed into our lives, or is this all that the world we could gain? Then there's the fact that we loved and may still love them, and that is still lurking around in all of this confusion, and it is a catalyst that keeps us connected to them emotionally and mentally. Is this our fault, or who are we to blame? And are we to blame the real perspective that we must accept? We have to work through the falling out of the love and blaming ourselves by accepting the truth that they were an emotional and psychological terrorists and rapists that we unknowingly opened up our life to. We ended up loving a sadistic monster disguised as a normal loving human being. We have to blend the two opposing thoughts together and become functional in our thinking. And yes, it is both things, and we could have never fixed any of this, but we can move on. We felt real love, but the love that was returned was not real because this person was not good or real as it concerns the human condition, having empathy, the ability to love or bond or connecting at any normal level that normal human beings do. This was a personality disordered person that has adopted to fit in and conceal themselves to be able to function in our world. Once we learn the truth and accept the reality, the door of to recovery swings open for us. Knowledge is power, and that happens with education about this abuse. Narcissists can quickly deceive their targets by adopting and mimicking anybody's ideas and belief systems to seem like they have so much in common with you to fulfill their agenda. And they will again gain your trust and use controlling techniques like extreme charm and insidious rejection, boss lies, manipulation, devaluing you, isolating you, then discarding you, or basically emotional psychological abuse. Narcissists lack all empathy and are not even remotely connected or attached to us, bond with us, or form any belief and true values beyond anything but their own grandiosity, self-importance, and vast neediness. Narcissist love is a desperate, broken, and abusive love, and the only adopted in a damaging and disabling way, trying to become functional where there was no real function for you in this relationship. I was a desperate love, one in which you were manipulated, conditioned, and controlled into believing you didn't deserve because something was so wrong with you. The abuse managed you down to such a manner that it brings watched you and your core beliefs to believe you were worthless, as well as traumatized you in the process of trying to constantly change to meet your viewers' demands to get back to that cohesive and loving relationship you were tricked into believing was real. All you were doing throughout the entire relationship was reacting to the fear of the loss that was imposed on you to conform or be out of the relationship by a malignant narcissist. All the narcissist relationship with others are perverted, twisted, and abusive. To use a person is to abuse a person, and everyone in the narcissist's life, without exception, is nothing more than a means of procuring affirmation, adulation, admiration. We are all a means to an end with their many agendas to secure supply and basically to restore anything that they can from people in life. It is like a puppet show with the narcissist having his or her hand manipulated every puppet and directing its every move just for them. With emotional and psychological abuse, the victim can't really see that it is abuse because they are conditioned by the abuser to believe that there was always something wrong with or about them. When a person is physically abused with a blackened eye, for example, that singular action undeniably defies it as abuse to the victim personally as well as anyone else that sees the physical damage. With emotional psychological abuse, there is no singular action that leaves an outward bruise or sign of abuse. Sometimes the victim is not even aware of the person's actions from the abuser that are harming or even destroying them, like the children resident of the narcissistic parents. The real bruises are on the inside as well as the many scars they have built up over time. It makes it extremely difficult for the victim to express the damage their lives and their heart, soul, and the mind, especially when they have been made to feel worthless, like they don't fit in silence without a voice. Sometimes the victim is frozen in this abuse for their entire life. The real damage here is that somehow it was connected to a love they believed in. A narcissist creates the terms of how they measure everything in life. So if they were a tape measure or a ruler, they would determine the dynamics of each and every measurement of define every inch of every foot, and you can believe that it would not be consistent with as it is supposed to be. The narcissist must be that which measures and judges, and never that which is measured and never judged. Literally, they coined the phrase, give them an inch and they will take a yard, while that and everything else they can get that serves them. There never was a relationship or love, what haunting, cold and dark words. A narcissist basically conditions and brainwashes you into believing this because they are very manipulative, cunning, and disordered and need you as a source of supply or to serve them and all the other needs. You are basically one of the many objects a narcissist employs with their charm to keep you with them until they are satisfied, and then they move on. The narcissist wanted you to believe they cared, loved you, but suddenly when they got to know you in that personal manner, they realized that you had all of these horrible present issues. They had pushed it even further to make you believe that you were really the defective person that was abusing them. The narcissist has been sending these messages to you subtly from the very first day, and that made you, and then stepped it up with a devaluation and discard because they found better supply and simply needed to move on and avoid exposure. We all have an expiration date with the narcissist. The narcissist has been securing more extra supply on the side all the time, and probably from that first day you met and were being interviewed as the latest source, this is what they do, and you are only viable for as long as the narcissist benefits from the so-called relationship. But you were never the only participant in the relationship, and it was only a matter of time. You cannot negotiate with the narcissist because you are only negotiating your own abuse. Their abuse are always looking for that opportunity to new angle to manipulate, malign, and manage you down, control you, and drag you back into the abuse once again. There are no adequate words to describe what emotional and psychological abuse does to a sane and loving person with real empathy. To understand the time that is lost, the extreme betrayal, lost dreams and goals, and the feelings of worthlessness at the hands of an abusive narcissist is impossible unless you have experienced this hideous abuse. It is like being punished, isolated, and locked up in a prison, and for no viable reason other than being a normal, real, and loving person. It is incomprehensible and takes so much self-reflection, strength, courage, love, validation, and a new journey, or better yet, a rebirthing process that the victim has to embark on. Sometimes the victim doesn't recover because many do not even understand that they have been abused, because there are no physical bruises, that there are invisible bruises in the mind, heart, and soul. They have been convinced that they are to blame and even have issues concerning their mental health. They were led on this road by the malignant narcissist, and the abuse has completely disabled them, and they live in this shame and blame forever. This is the plight of many children. They were raised, abused by narcissistic parents as well as spouses, family members, friends, and basically anybody that has any sort of close relationship with a narcissist. To describe this abuse with any clarity, it would have to be called psychological rape over an extended and lengthy period of time that traumatizes the victim into silence, isolation, as well as mentally disables them with until intervention or help frees them and enables them to move forward. The narcissist wants to remain affixed in your mind and heart, but it is more manipulation to control and harm you. They completely rely on appearances to create their world, and those appearances are all false and based on lies. So remember, when you get lost in the thoughts concerning them, that you are believing in a false illusion or their lies or what they are portraying and nothing more. Narcissists love an audience to create, cultivate their toxic drama for the very basic reason to control the environment around them. They also create drama as a tool to get supply and draw off the attention to themselves, which is what they do with this drama. And that is so destructive because it is used to divide and confuse people and keep them confused through control and isolation. You can bet the narcissist is always to go the go-to person or at the center of all the controversy, but comes out smelling like a rose. Be assured that someone is being destroyed in the process when a narcissist is sharing their thoughts and concerns about someone else, and that person is never within reach to defend themselves. Narcissists are self-serving chameleons that shape-shift into whatever they need or want to be to serve a specific agenda. They have morality, empathy, truth, and integrity are only related to their personal desires at any given moment, and they act on all of them for personal gain. In plain English, they are the con artists, extortionists, and predators that objectify and use all people by manipulating them to get what they want, can, and then destroy their character once they are done with them. Any effort that you emotionally invest in trying to relate to a narcissist is doomed at every level from the very moment you try to actualize your thoughts at a workable reality as it concerns their world. Also, in the attempt of trying to understand their world, their patterns, why they do what they do, or why they react in a manner they do, or trying to relate their personal actions into viable emotions as they normally relate to emotions, is totally hopeless. Narcissists make no emotional investments in anybody, but they do mimic emotions to manipulate people into believing their facade of false self. They feel no stimulation from you or the relationship that you believe you have with them. You do, however, have a very clear and significant role, and that is as a narcissistic supply. You are only a means to an end, and as one of the many objects that they need to survive. Once they are done with you, they will just move on to another source. That is all there is to it. But you believed it was a real relationship and even love, and you invested so much in them. A narcissist basically erases a victim's personality and suffocates their individualism through insidious and demeaning emotional, psychological manipulation and control. Then, to add insult to the injury, they even make us believe it is our fault. Humans are interchangeable, and the narcissist does not distinguish one individual from the other. To the narcissist, we are all inanimate elements in the extensive audience whose job is to reflect their false self or image. This is what gender is, that perpetual and permanent cognition dissonance or the real truth versus the reality of what we believe. The narcissist is there in the spirit long after they have finished in the flesh, because they have infiltrated and attacked the mind and the core beliefs of these victims. This is the real damage to the victim of this abuse and are dealing with. They must mourn the love they believe was real and now accept they were manipulated or conned and it was all a big scam. This is the double-edged sword with the type of abuse, the love that just then go away with the truth that is now compounded with a new layer that this was psychological and emotional abuse. The disordered narcissist commits moral mayhem by destroying their target victim's reputation and credibility so that nobody will believe the target victim when they start to tell the truth. This description of mayhem that the narcissist uses to destroy the target victim integrity is also a projection of what they have done. So the narcissist gets a bonus by dumping the demons onto us as well. With this preemptive backstabbing and smear campaign, the narcissist reduces the target victim to such a vulnerable, helpless state that it confounds the abuser at the highest level by accusing the target victim of being the abuser as well. Remember that a narcissist uses familiarity from a personal connection they had with us to be in the know about many of our personal private situations. That familiarity will yield semi-valid but distorted personal connections to events and other people that they will use against us. In other words, their smear campaigns will be laced with small bits and pieces of the distorted truth that listeners can relate to. Narcissists are very easily wounded towards smear campaign. In an attempt to malign someone's character, credibility, reputation, this is based on the lies, half-truth, and the malicious rumors. Narcissists always exploits the darkest victims' emotions and sentiments to gather personal information that they will use against them. Later, the narcissist will make up a story plausible enough that the listener will be able to make a personal connection to it, but cannot verify the exact allegations, the accusations. The narcissist makes are powerful, damaging, and meant to destroy the target victim's integrity. It is a strong arm defense and silence victim, so the narcissist can escape from the exposure or that they are really the abusive person and the troublemaker. Narcissists always have to have a protection shield and an escape route to throw people off their scent, because their world is so full of the lies and the holes as it concerns the reality that is present to us and the world. A narcissist's life is all about double standards or whatever serves them at any particular moment, no matter what the consequences to anybody. They follow no rules or obey no laws because it is all about them being entitled to anything, everything. It wasn't for double standards. The narcissist would not have any standards at all. Being amoral or just numb to the existence of morality, rules, or the laws in life is as far as a narcissist's integrity goes, and it is based solely on what upon. Always, they are like the cantankerous and irrational 3-year-old child brat throwing a tantrum. The narcissist never gives up one of their screaming fits or argument until they get exactly what they want, or destroying you in the process. If you engage in the narcissist, she will pull you down to their level. Keep engaging with them in the argument, and she will take it to another destructive level, to another, and finally the level lower than you care to stoop. So you just give in and stop. It is futile to go on anymore. So this behavior becomes your normal when dealing with a narcissist. It is sadistic conditioning, pure and simple, and facilitates the narcissist's delusions of power and control and abuses you. A narcissist is someone who demands you give up everything in order to be their nothing. Narcissists are supply addicts. They must always seek out newer and more viable supply to get their fix because they can't bond or participate in real intimacy or let it grow. They fail at it miserably because it is all based on the lies that they cannot back up with real emotions, actions. Unfortunately, they have convinced us that we are at fault, and we internalize it as a reality of our situation because we do know and participate in real love and emotion and always try to fix it. A narcissist in our world is angry, dark, insecure, full of envy, and lacks complete empathy. They don't have any internal mechanism to love, care, or bond with anybody, so instead they feed the extreme external neediness and pathological nature by objectifying and using us to fill that huge void or that with anything that is within their reach. Because of their pathology, they create constant chores and destruction with their abusive words, actions, and control to make people feel like their emptiness, as if they deserve to pay for their misery and disconnection from life. They imitate our reality to fit in as well as draw us into their life and then into our personal misery by abusing what they can't ever achieve, or our goodness and ability to really love and bond with people in life. They are empty souls that destroy goodness in people, just the truth and the reality of the abuse. It's never a relationship with a narcissist in a narcissist's life. If someone tells you just get over it and move on, tell them you were emotionally and psychologically abused by a narcissist. It is not just a broken heart, it is a broken life. Narcissists are extremely self-centered with an addictive need for attention and admiration. They also con artists, pathological liars, perfectionist, manipulators, and extremely destructive to anyone that connects with them at any level. They control people with fake charm, love, anger, fear, rage, criticism, righteousness, invasive energy, backstabbing, and always creating emotional chores and traumas. They use both blatant and concealed control like pity, blame, and shame to get the attention they desperately need and hold you hostage by making you responsible for their feelings of both pain and joy. Narcissistic abuse is deeply rooted in the mechanics of personality disordered person that directly relates to their disconnection or their inability to feel empathy, emotions, and compassion toward people. Narcissists just don't care how you or I feel, but they care about how they feel, and that is as deep as it goes with them. There is no relationship with them ever. It is all one big lie. To a narcissist, we are all either a tool or an obstacle, nothing more or nothing less. Narcissists simply bait you with conversation in an effort to manage you down and keep you constantly confused. Just with a normal conversation, it almost seems like they are testing you or even mocking you. They are gauging your reactions to see how far they can push you. They want you to react emotionally, and after the bed, you and get you, then they will tell you to calm down or say you are overreacting and make you internalize their disappointment with you. Narcissists need to have the upper hand always to feel and stay in control. So the whole point of this bait and switch is to make you feel unbalanced and become unhinged. Think of it like this. It is like the narcissist purposely punches you in the face and then gets angry at you for reacting angrily, so that to that very punch, it is always your fault, and you will always be blamed for your reactions to their sadistic behaviors. Empathy, caring, and unconditional love can cure many things, but offering it to a malignant narcissist would be like throwing gas on the fire with the hopes to extinguish it. And they are not there for love by any means, and that defines the abhorrent being as what they truly are, or one that would scheme, manipulate, and brainwash another into believing they had something that was as real, as wonderful as love to debase, dehumanize, and destroy another. It is especially difficult to accept this when your interactions with them are at the personal, professional, familiar, or an intimate level. How much of yourself, your work, your aspirations do you have to sacrifice in order to save your life and your psyche from the destructive assault from your narcissistic abuser? This is the downfall of anybody that buys into this apparent relationship with them, believing and then losing themselves and so much of their life. The real dynamics of the relationship with the narcissist is built solely on the premise that you are only a functioning object to serve your personality disordered human beings for as long as they want you, or until they have exhausted everything that they can from your life, mind, and heart. Unfortunately, you're coming from what you believe is a relationship with them, so you also believe it is a real and normal relationship with them too. It was your trust and love that blinded you from the day-to-day manipulation and abuse. Slowly but surely, your identity, emotions, and the thoughts are completely eroded away until you have lost touch with the person you originally were. The narcissist pushes you so much so that you react in ways that make you out to be angry one or the crazy one, and then the narcissist uses this against you. Eventually, they will discard you and move on to another person to victimize, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to change it or fix any of this. In reality, it was a blessing in disguise, because your freedom from this person and the abuse will enable you to move forward and heal from the deceptive emotional and psychological destruction. You were just another victim. This narcissist cycled into their facade to use and abuse. Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Love you, God. Love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. Waheguru, October 29. What are red flags? Do you constantly feel confused as it concerns the reality of your relationship? Does it seem that you are